Okay, so in a recent video, I may or may not have listed the Krink K60 as one of the worst graffiti supplies on the graffiti market. And believe it or not, I did get some mixed feedback on that comment. So today we're going to be doing a full review and surface tagging test of the Krink K60, where we head over to our surface testing area, do some hit-offs tags with subscriber names, and see how the Krink K60 performs on smooth painted surfaces as well as glass, the slipperiest surface of them all probably. But first, using some of that feedback that I got on my comments that I may have said about the Krink K60, I'm going to be telling you all the most important info that the graffiti writer will want to know about the Krink K60 marker. And there are really two things that I think are important to know about the Krink K60 right away. Number one, and there is no way around this, one of these little guys will cost you about $14 US. And rather than saying that that is the worst price of any small standard graffiti mop, which it is, I'll put it to you this way. You could buy a full 200 milliliter high quality grog refill and a grog squeezer mop for that refill for the same price as just one of these Krink K60s. And the same can be said for other high quality graffiti brands as well. For example, you could buy a 210 milliliter OTR paint refill and like a couple of these mini sole tips for the same price as one of these K60s. Point number two, even within such a competitive graffiti mop market today, Krink is still the distinct leader in terms of paint formula quality. When you buy Krink, it can be safely assumed that you're getting great quality, high opacity, and most of all, high permanence paint in your Krink mops. So the bottom line here is probably something like, are you really willing to pay a pretty ridiculous price for maybe a 30% boost in paint formula permanence and maybe a bit of quality in other areas as well? As Sciz said in his comment, the high prices of Krink seem almost antithetical to graffiti and to graffiti culture in general. Kill Spy, on the other hand, also sums it up very nicely, saying that Krink is like the Apple of graffiti. There's definitely some quality associated with Apple. Maybe it's the same thing for Krink. Mr. Paint also had a great explanation as to why he thinks that the Krink K60 is something that's good to have, if you want to take a look at his reasoning. But that is certainly enough talk. Let's head over now to our surface testing area and do a comprehensive surface tagging test to see how the Krink K60 performs. Okay, welcome to the testing area, everyone. This is where all the magic happens, and if this is your first time seeing our little testing area, an extra special welcome to you. If you end up liking the reviews, maybe you consider subscribing. Check out some of the other 50+ graffiti product reviews we have done here on the channel. So while I do some tags here with this Krink K60, I am going to be mostly commenting on three things in particular with respect to the formula. Those three things are: number one, the opacity of the formula. That's very, very important for graffiti product. Number two, the vibrancy. We want to know that this pops. You want your tags to stand out. It's one of the main points of a mop, of course. And number three, the viscosity of it, or as we like to call it, the drippability here on the channel, I guess. I will also talk a little bit about sort of what it feels like to use this in terms of the controllability of it and the squeezability of the mop, which are sort of one and the same. So this Krink K60 here comes pre-filled with one of 20 different colors, which is actually a great color selection, I do have to admit. And again, because it's Krink, you know that those colors are going to be vibrant, but we're going to test that out. But as far as I can tell, there's no such thing as a Krink refill, meaning you can't buy any of just the Krink formula to refill these mops with. So really the only way to get your hands on any Krink paint is to actually pay that 14 bucks for a mop that you might not need just to get some of the paint formula inside it. So essentially you are paying about $14 US for just 60 milliliters of this legendary Krink formula. And just in case some of you are wondering, it is the exact same body as the Krink K66 here, which is a steel tip marker. I do have a review of that if you want to check it out separately, but just in case any of you were thinking this was going to be bigger, no, it's the exact same size. Speaking of buying the paint though, I do have a link to where you can buy the Krink K60 for the cheapest price I could find. That'll be the first link in the description. I also managed to find a deal where you can buy 3 for 30 bucks, which if you want 3 of them, that's a good deal. That might be for you. If not, obviously it's not. But it is time to see how this mop performs, and we'll see if in a tagging test that gives it a chance to show off its luster a little bit. We'll start over on this sort of between rough and smooth painted surface nowadays. It's been through a lot. And then of course we do have some glass that we're gonna try and do a couple tags on if I don't smash it in the meantime. Let's get to it. All right, so tons and tons of people have been asking me for hit offs. I'll get to them all eventually, but I have quite an extensive list. So if you don't see yourself in this video, it'll be in a future one. First off though, Mew wanted a hit off. Let's get him up here. Let's juice this nib up real good. Yeah, the nib juices up right away. Very vibrant, look at that. Yeah, so as you can see, obviously a very vibrant formula right away. Something nice about the Krink, it's a little bit of a thicker formula. You get the drips sort of where you would sort of want them. I mean, even more so if you have good mop control. But look at that nib, that's gorgeous. I'm gonna give you a close-up shot of that. Under Mew, we got Hulk here. He's been a sub for a long time. Let's show him some love. Get those nice blocky letters in. It's always a nice tag style to do. That's one of the biggest things I can say. A lot of people ask me for advice about tagging when they're just starting out. The biggest thing I can say is keep it simple. That's what I do when I'm writing all these names for people that want hit offs, because I'm not used to tagging those letters in that order. So best thing you can do is start off simple. Keep it simple and you'll get some nice stuff like that that may not be the most glamorous, but no one can argue with it. Now I will say right away, there's not a lot of drips here because I'm not squeezing too hard, hence also why it's a little bit streaky. But right away I just want to say very vibrant formula, opaque, and again a bit of a thicker formula. Let's get some more names up here. Said I'd give Error a hit off. Let's get him up here. To really test the viscosity, we're gonna try and squeeze extra hard here, get some nice drips in a couple of these tags. I do have to say, this mop a little bit tougher than some other mops, and obviously that'll get a bit better as you drain the paint out of it, but it's a pretty tough mop that you're working with. Shout out to Sly. So I squeezed a bit harder on that. You can see a bit of a difference. Let's get a few more names up here before we go over to the glass. I do have to say, this is a fun mop. It's hard to have anything specific to say about it sometimes because it's such a standard mop, which to me is one of the reasons that it's so outrageous that they charge so much for it. Because at the end of the day, it is just a standard mop. So because of that, I'm trying to comment more on their beautiful formula here. You can't deny it's shiny, and to be honest, it stays like that when it dries too. It's one of the hardest to buff. It's the most permanent. Krink is always a leader in permanence in the graffiti market. So really you are paying for the formula, and I can't emphasize that enough with this kind of review about a standard graffiti mop. And essentially it also feels like I'm sort of focusing on the wrong thing when I focus on the formula too, simply because they don't really offer refills as far as I know, and I've looked pretty hard to be honest. But yeah, the results speak for themselves in terms of the formula. I don't really have to say much more about it, but I know what we're all waiting for. Let's see what this thing can do on glass. All right, we got this nice pane of glass here. You can see very old piece up there. That's an old one I did, but let's see what this can do on glass. I'm excited to see this. I'm gonna try a little one-liner here of mine. Little secret for you, with one-liners you don't really want the drips so much. It makes it lose the functionality of the letters a little bit. Just an opinion, I guess, but let me know if you agree. Let's also shout out a couple other cats on here. And you know, let me just add that the fact that you can write on glass at all without a lot of drippage really speaks to the viscosity of this formula and how controllable you have it in terms of the formula not being runny, because the less runny it is, the more control you have over it. Let's give one last one here to Nova. Nova's a great name to tag, by the way. Let me just give you a better look at these. Yeah, so glass is one of those sort of like joyride surfaces where it's just a fun one to write on. Okay, so although I could fill this whole surface up write with this all day. I don't want to waste your time. So what I'll say about this, in my opinion, is to determine if this is worth it for you, you have to know how much value you're going to get out of it. And let me talk about value for a second, because people sort of confuse value a little bit with price. People assume if something is high price, that means it's high value. That's not what value is. Value is the benefit you get per unit cost. And the benefit you get is going to be different for every person. If you're the type of person that is really going to enjoy specifically the formula in this paint, and if permanence is a big thing for you, you will get more benefit out of this than someone who is more cost oriented. Nothing will change that this mop is the single most expensive graffiti mop on the graffiti market. But if that price brings you a certain amount of benefit, then the benefit to price ratio could be quite high, and in that case, this mop could be worth it for you. But if you are a cost or budget oriented sort of graffiti writer, which I would assume most graffiti writers are, then this might not be something you want to buy at all, or at least not regularly. Krink in general as a brand, I should say, and this mop. There are plenty of great quality mops with great quality formulas out there that you can buy besides the Krink K60. In fact, I'll have a graffiti mop comparison coming out in the near future to help you decide which type of mop is best for you. Link in the corner if it's out. If you guys have something to add about the Krink K60, either if you're for or against it, or just something you notice about it, feel free to leave that in the comments. The knowledge in our great graffiti community is vast, and the more we can share with each other and exchange, the better. And that is how I would suggest you figure out for yourself if this mop is a good fit for you or not. Clearly the quality is there, but you need to figure out how much benefit you are going to get out of it. I have plenty more graffiti reviews and product comparisons on my channel. You can check out some of those videos on screen now, or any of the other many series we do on the channel as well. I hope to see you in another one of those videos, and until then, peace.